Hello and welcome to another episode of the Panther podcast. I'm Madison Gutierrez, and this is our special guest, Coach Culpepper. Thanks for coming out, Coach. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Chris Cull. I met Madison, I guess, it's been 5 or 6 years ago now when you're in sixth grade. I was a sixth grade teacher, taught for school for 31 years, taught and coached. After I retired from teaching, started a youth running club and also coach at a charter school from middle school and high school.
That's great. Do you want to tell us, Coach, why speed work is so important?
I think it's the fun part of running, or at least I do when I run. I enjoy getting faster at whatever distance I choose to do, and speed work's one of the components that's necessary, but also I think brings enjoyment to the sport. It's just, I don't know, the idea of just running long, slow miles over and over again sort of gets old to me, but it doesn't matter what level you're racing at, whether it's shorter distance, a longer distance, or ultra marathons or beyond. Speed work is a component of that.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about some different types of speed work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so all speed work's not created equal. I think you and I talked about this before, and so I break it down into like three basic categories. So first part of speed work would be strides, post run, during run, or hill work. That would be sort of the first and easiest one, and one that you incorporate most often. The second would be sort of longer tempo threshold type work, where it is between the 5 to 10 minute amount of work, and then you have the shorter stuff, which typically speaking, what most people would think of as speed work would be the short interval type stuff, where it's 1 to 3 minute type of, or a little bit less than a minute, but things that are just what you think of when you think of speed work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I'm glad you mentioned strides because a lot of people don't think about that as necessarily a speed type thing. It's just something you do, but like you like to say, it reminds you how to run fast, and that's something that really helped me in the past couple years. So you talked about your three different breakdowns. How would you incorporate those to either cross or track, or when do you use short speed or long speed?
Okay. And I guess the foundation of that is if you just say you take 10 miles, for example, of your 10 miles, 8 out of those 10 miles for the majority of the year, those are just going to be your recovery, your everyday sort of just miles where you are just putting in time on your feet. Whether it's time on your feet or distance, it's still just you're laying the foundation so that you can ultimately go faster. So if you have 10 total miles during a week, only 2 of those are speed work. So within those 2 miles, yeah, like we talked about, you can break those down into either longer type speed work or shorter type speed work. Sort of in your summer and earlier in the season, you're going to do less short sort of speed work and more threshold tempo type, longer sustained type work. Then start adding more speed on true speed work later on in the thing. But all the while, not including in that 10 miles is sort of your strides. It's just sort of a little bit of extra stuff, like you said, reminding yourself how to run fast. But doing strides for younger kids, and the younger kids that I teach, they pretty much do strides at the end of each run. Just doing something fast, like I said, to remind yourself how to run fast. It teaches you how to run, works on your correct form. Then it always keeps the fun component in running, and I think once you lose the fun component and being joyful when you do it, running gets long and lonely and not very enjoyable, which leads to burnout.
Thank you. So what are some of your favorite workouts for your cross 5K or during track season, your mile or 2 mile.
Okay, yeah, good question. So during cross country or the longer distances in track, some of the lactic threshold or tempo type work, and just trying to keep it simplified. I try to vary them, but just within the framework of either doing 2 by 10 minutes or something like 3 by 7 minutes. I think the most bang for your buck is something in the 3 by 7 minute range, because it gets you past your comfort zone, but you have to really hold on, especially when you're doing a 2 mile or a 5K. You really just have to build your foundation so that you can sustain a certain pace for longer. Key with like interval or threshold type, not interval, excuse me, with threshold or tempo type workouts, when a coach or after you get done with that, the idea you should be going hard enough where you're working, where you could talk in short sentences, but when you're done, if you did a set of 3 or your coach or you're talking to yourself, could you do one more? And the goal is always, yes, I could have done one more. I can't do one more. You went too hard. So finding that sweet spot of where you're working hard enough, but not overworking, because then it's just sort of self-defeating. Then you're just too fatigued all the time.
I'm glad you mentioned you're not going all out every single rep. Like most of you'll have the occasional speed session if you're doing 800. Maybe you'll do some all out 200s, but a lot of it is just comfortably uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because if you're always, like, if you just think of it like as an engine, if you were always just pushing to where you're redlining, you can only sustain that for so long. That was really, just a simple analogy of like a sports car that's just can't just go 100 miles an hour all day long. So the idea of, you can't just crush yourself. And I know watching my son do it and watching college kids do it, even watching high school boys do it, they want to turn every recovery day into a race at the end. And part of that is good, clean fun. It's okay. But when you just start redlining too much, then you go into a race or an actual workout session where you want to be fresh and you're just gassed because you're too tired. So it's finding that balance between going hard but not going too hard.
Well, you have anything else about speed work?
I guess the main thing that I would stress with speed work is sort of, we started with it, but strides, especially during the summer. And I know you're started this podcast in the summer, but I think as you're building your base for the summer to get you prepared for August, September, then hopefully November or beyond, I think the most beneficial thing this time of year is, one, time on your feet, just putting in the miles, but adding strides and either doing short strides, 4 to 6, no more than 30 seconds at the end of practice, end of a run. I like to incorporate it during a run, sort of on the last 75% of a run, incorporating your strides into the actual recovery run. Or the third way is doing hill strides, hill repeats. Again, all in the 4 to 6 range in reps and nothing more than 30 seconds. I think this time of year, you'll see the biggest dividends as you progress. So that would be my parting words of wisdom.
Well, thank you for coming out today, and this is another episode of the Panther Stride podcast.